So it's Wednesday again. Yes, these weeks keep flying by. Did you see the football match last night? Some people believe that Colombia should have won the match, whilst others believe that England played a fair game. Anyway, England are through to the next round of the World Cup. Even I watched it, and I'm not even a fan of football. Coming up later, we have Mr. Steve, who will be here to talk about all sorts of things. And of course, you are here on the live chat, and you are more than welcome to say hello during this special live stream. After all, it's Wednesday night. It's just after 10 o'clock here in the UK, and this is Leighton Live English. Do. How are you today? Oh, yes. What a week it's been for the whole population of not just England, but also the United Kingdom. It's been a very interesting 24 hours. Hi, everybody. This is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you happy? I really hope so. Yes, I am feeling so happy today, and I hope you are too, because, well, did you see the football match last night? There is only one story in town as far as the population of this country is concerned. I'm not sure about the other country. I'm not sure about Colombia. Apparently, all of the presenters last night who were commenting on the match were all pronouncing the name of Colombo wrong. It's true. So, here we go again. It's Wednesday night, and this is Live English, late and live. And of course, it's myself, Mr. Duncan. How is my hay fever? I can already hear people asking. Yes, there it is. There is the question. How is your hay fever, Mr. Duncan? My hay fever isn't too bad. It is there, but it isn't causing me too many problems at the moment. Although, having said that, anything can happen, because this is late and live English, and of course we can't start off the show without having a look out of the window. So here is the view earlier tonight. So here is something I recorded earlier, looking out of my studio window, and there you can see the sun is about to set, and you can also see lots of flies and insects flying around. They are a real pain in the neck at the moment. I must admit, they are an absolute pain. Whilst outside earlier, I was being bitten, and all sorts of insects were trying to suck my blood from my body. And I was saying, go away, you annoying insects. You can't have my blood. I need it. And here is the view outside right now. And there it is now. You can see that the sun has gone and it is starting to get dark. So there it is, the live view looking out. Talking of live views, at 10:30, Mr. Steve will be talking to us live from outside. Yes, I thought tonight we would do something a little different. So for the first few moments of Mr. Steve's arrival here tonight, he will actually be outside, and I thought it would be interesting to see if we can actually do this. So it might all go wrong. So if you are looking forward to seeing something go completely wrong, you've probably come to the right place, because it might be a complete disaster. So please stick around for that. I know that people love to see the views in my garden, so I thought it would be nice to see some more shots in the garden as well. Okay then, here is the view tonight around the garden. The view this evening when the sun was still in the sky. And there it is, and the garden looking very nice. In fact, Mr. Steve at the moment is outside watering the plants. He's actually putting water on the plants because many of them are starting to dry up, as you will see in a few moments. You want to see what's happened to the poor dahlia. It does not look very well at the moment, but there you can see many of the plants don't seem to be suffering very much because of the heat. Yes, the heat wave in the UK is still continuing. It is still happening, and today it was very warm, about 26 degrees. And there you can see, if you look closely, you can see that the grass is looking very dry. And this is something that is happening across many parts of the UK at the moment. Many areas have become very dry. And you can see there, the grass at the back of my house is looking very dry. And in some parts of England, there have been serious fires across areas of grassland. And there have been some terrible fires. And can you believe it? One of the fires was started deliberately. Someone started the fire on purpose. Now, can you believe that? Can you believe that there are such silly people around that would do something like that, to start a fire during a heat wave? Crazy. And there you can see, languishing and enjoying the evening sunshine, you can see the cows and also the bullocks as well, enjoying the evening sunshine. So there they are this evening. I didn't see them today until this evening. They suddenly appeared. So I think the cows and the bullocks have been hiding in the shade. That's what I think anyway. So there it was. Would you like to see Mr. Steve's dahlias? Oh dear. It's such a sad thing. Poor Mr. Steve's wilting dahlias. Look, you can see Mr. Steve's dahlias have been suffering from the heat. They really do look in a sorry state. If something is in a sorry state, it means it looks awful. Maybe it looks untidy, or maybe unhealthy. So you can say that something is in a very sorry state. And that means that the thing in question, the thing you are talking about, doesn't look very good. Maybe it looks unwell. So there you can see the dahlias are really suffering. They are a very sorry sight. They look very dry, and as you can see on the screen, they are wilting. If something wilts, to wilt means to lose your springiness or your energy. You start to collapse. You start to fade away. You start to wilt. And also wither. Oh dear. That doesn't sound very good, does it? So there you can see the sights tonight in the garden, and everything is very dry. Mr. Steve was outside earlier watering his flowers, and we will see Mr. Steve in 15 minutes' time outside. He will be outside. Hopefully we'll be able to see him because it's starting to get dark now. So it'll be very interesting to see how well it comes out. One thing I'm forgetting, of course, we can't forget about the live chat. And there it is. Yeah. Who was first on tonight's live chat? I don't know. I'm going to have a look. I think, yes. Pedro Belmont is first on the live chat. Francisco is also here. Hello, Francisco. And also hello to all of the classmates watching tonight. Thank you very much. Julie Ramos or Ramos is here. Also Gretel Luciano says, hi guys. Hi to you as well. Also Arslan Ali says hi to everyone. That's very nice. I always love to see your warm welcomes. I always like to see all of the lovely greetings at the start of the live lesson because it makes me feel very, very welcome. Just as you are. Francivil. Oh, I like your name, by the way. Francivil Peixoto. I hope I pronounce your name right. And also Nicole is here. Bonsoir, Mr. Duncan. I'm happy to see you again. Are you happy? Yes, I'm very happy because England won the football match last night. So they will be playing, I think it's the quarter-final. Is it the quarter-final? I think it is. So hopefully England will get through to the semi-final. So all remains to be seen.
Yes.
Oh, did you hear that?
You know what they say, a lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still getting its pants on.
Okay
I'm
then.
not sure I get it, but it's funny.
Something very strange is happening in my studio at the moment. I have a new mobile phone at the moment, and unfortunately there is something that's built into the phone that keeps talking to me, even though I don't want it to. I'm sure if you own an Apple phone, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. If something is in a sorry state, it looks awful. Yes, you are right. To be in a sorry state. Yes, an idiom that means to look unwell or to look as if you might be losing your energy or your life, or maybe you look untidy. You are in a very sorry state. Hello, Mr. Duncan and Mr. Steve. Were you crazy last night over the England team win? Well, I was watching here, but Mr. Steve wasn't here last night. He was actually away on conference, but he went out with some of his work colleagues and they were watching the football match in a pub. And Steve said it was very, very noisy. People were getting very excited. And even Steve got a little bit excited as well about the football match, which is very unusual because neither Steve nor myself, neither of us follow football. So yes, very interesting. So the live chat is up and running, and as you can see, you are more than welcome to say hello on the live chat. And of course, I am here as well. Mr. Duncan is my name and teaching English is my game. I've been on YouTube for over 11 years. It's true, I'm not joking. And you can catch me live on Sunday, 2 p.m. UK time. And as you can see now, you can catch me every Wednesday at 10 p.m. UK time. So now it is 20 minutes past 10 o'clock. And for some people, some very lucky people, you will have live subtitles at the moment. So not everyone will have them. Some people will and some people won't. But it's a new feature that YouTube has just introduced. I'm loving some of the messages, by the way, on the live chat. Oh, yes. Mr. Duncan, you must cut your wilting flowers so that the other buds will grow. Yes, you are right, Nicole. That is true. Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I will cut the old flowers off and then I will add some, hopefully some new ones will appear. Hello, Mr. Duncan from Bolivia. Rogello is here. Hello, Rogello. Nice to see you there. And also, I'm trying to get another message on the screen, but it's not working at the moment. How annoying. Mr. Duncan, I was shouting loudly because the England team won yesterday. Thank you, Gretel, for that. Yes, even people who didn't support or don't support England were getting very excited yesterday by the football match. And even I was getting a little excited. So I was watching it here and Mr. Steve was watching it in another part of the country. But for those who are looking out for Mr. Steve, don't worry, he will be here very soon. Steve was very busy earlier. He was outside in the garden. Do you want to know what he was doing? He was doing what he does every evening. He was watering the flowers. In fact, he's still out there now doing it. And we will join Mr. Steve in the garden in around about 9 minutes' time. It's very dark outside, so I hope we'll be able to see Mr. Steve. That's all I can say. And there's Mr. Steve watering his plants. And last night, whilst Mr. Steve was away, I was left in charge of the plants. So it was my duty last night to water all of Steve's lovely plants. And there he is. He is now filling up his watering can with water from the tap. Fortunately, this week we have water. So we actually have water tonight. Thank goodness. If you remember last week, we actually had no water. The water actually ran out last week. So that wasn't very good. But tonight we do have water. Fortunately, there is not a water shortage at the moment here in the UK. So you'll be pleased to hear that everything there is all right. Oh, look. Do you like that? That's a little conifer, a baby conifer. And that one gets dry every single day during the heat wave because it's very small. I like Mr. Steve's shoes. Do you like Steve's shoes? They're rather nice, they are. They're sandals. Sandals. I love Mr. Steve's sandals. Come on, Steve, hurry up. Get that watering done. So there he is, or should I say there he was, earlier in the garden, and we will be joining Mr. Steve very, very soon. Hopefully, he will have something very interesting to talk about, because, of course, today it is July the 4th of July, and for those who know their history, you will probably know why July the 4th is a special day for some people. Pedro says, I was watch the football in the British pub. Looks very cool. Yes, I'm not a big fan of pubs, especially when they're very busy and noisy. But yes, Steve said that everyone in the pub last night was getting very, very excited. So I think it's safe to say that many people last night were screaming and shouting, and they were hoping that England would win. Yes, Mr. Steve is a very busy bee at the moment. Hello, Mr. Duncan. Morocco is watching. Mohammed Torbi. Hello to you and thanks a lot. Gretel says, I was so annoyed for you and Mr. Steve because of the last class. There wasn't any water in your house. Yes, that's true. Last Wednesday we had no water. Can you believe it? But tonight we have water. Mr. Steve has been in the garden, busy watering his flowers. Would you like to see my socks? Because I was out in the garden today in my socks. I didn't put any shoes on. So here are my lovely socks, the socks that I'm wearing tonight. And there you can see I am standing on the dry grass. So that is the dry grass in the front garden. And you can see it is very dry, very burnt by all of the sun we've had recently. And it doesn't look very healthy. You might say that the grass looks like a very sorry sight. A very sorry sight. Mr. Duncan, I can hear the sheep in the distance. Probably, yes, you can probably hear the sheep in the distance because there is a microphone outside right now ready to pick up Mr. Steve's lovely voice. That happening very soon. So yes, you are right. You can hear sheep in the distance. It really does sound like the countryside. A beautiful place and so many plants. And of course, this week it is the 70th anniversary of the NHS, the National Health Service. And that is something that was created 70 years ago this week. And it is something that has helped millions, literally millions of people during that particular time. So yes, it's safe to say that the National Health Service is a very good thing indeed. I hope you are enjoying the sounds of Mr. Steve moving around. So those sounds you could just hear weren't me, they were Mr. Steve. He is preparing to go live. Yes, America celebrates its Independence Day on the 4th of July. Yes. So the 4th of July is seen as a special day in the United States because that is the day when it became an independent country. And of course, around the world, many countries have become independent. What about you? Has your country in recent years become independent? Born on the 4th of July is it a movie title? Yes, you are right. Yes, there is a movie called Born on the 4th of July. And as I remember, it is all about the Vietnam War. Aren't you hot wearing your socks, Mr. Duncan? Yes, I am a little bit hot. I've still got my socks on now, but I am wearing my shorts, so don't worry too much about that. Yes, quite a few people have got it right. Yes, the 4th of July, today is the anniversary of American independence after the Revolutionary War, which took place between 1775 and 1783. So yes, thank you very much for all those who guessed correctly. Wow, so many people tonight on the live chat. We have someone who has had an Independence Day. Yes, in Peru, we celebrate our Independence Day. Well, in fact, it will be this month, on the 28th of July. So on the 28th of July in Peru, they celebrate their Independence Day. It is coming up to 10:30. 10:30 is on the way. I can see that Mr. Steve is ready. So, without any more delay, we are going to do something very unusual. I've never done this before. We are going to go outside into the garden and join Mr. Steve in around about 25 seconds time. This should be very interesting. Now, this will either be successful or a huge disaster. So, let's press the button and see what happens. Mr. Steve outside with the beautiful sunset behind him. You can see the red sky. Are you there?
I am here, Mr. Duncan. Can you hear me?
I can. You are very loud. Wait there a moment.
No, you don't have to turn me down, Mr. Duncan. I know you like to be louder than me on the live chat. Hello to everybody out there around the world, and a special welcome from me and to anybody watching in America. You are celebrating the 4th of July, which I heard Mr. Duncan talk about. So congratulations on beating us 200 odd years ago. Well, you did have the French to help you.
You know what, Steve? What's interesting is the perception, the view that people have of the American war with Britain is not quite as people imagine, because there are other things involved. Did you know, for example, that the war was never actually won? Did you know that? In fact, what happened was that the American country, they prolonged the war for as long as they could, so the resources of the British would be used up. And when I say resources, I mean money.
Well, we were fighting. See, the French turned to the Americans, and the French, of course, hated us back then. They probably still do, because we were beating them left, right, and centre. So they teamed up with the Americans to try and beat us. But we were also simultaneously fighting wars with France and Spain and other parts of the world at the same time. So all our resources, as you quite correctly said, Mr. Duncan, were being used up to fight all these other wars. And also we were trying to defend England at the same time. So we just spread our resources too thinly. And in the end, we lost. But apparently in the beginning, the states that wanted independence from the UK didn't really want complete independence. They just wanted us to give a bit more control to them.
That's it.
And this is interesting because I was at work, as Mr. Duncan said this week, in Manchester, which is sort of north in the UK, and probably the third largest city. And so I was at work, and somebody who works for us is American, and he was telling me all about this. And of course they have all these big celebrations, don't they, Mr. Duncan? On the 4th of July, they have parades in the streets, they have fireworks, all the families get together and they have parties and picnics. It's a big celebration day. And it would be nice to be there. Of course, we had a big celebration yesterday as well.
Yes.
And I heard you talking about the football match. That was very exciting. I've never been in a pub surrounded with hundreds of people when England have won a match. I tell you, if they hadn't have won, I think there'd have been riots in the street.
Oh dear.
I don't think I'd have got back safely to the hotel.
In fact, you were a little bit worried, weren't you? Because you thought, I don't want to walk around Manchester just in case England lose. But fortunately for Steve, England actually did win. And I think they are playing on, I want to say Saturday. I think it's Saturday they're playing. And they're playing Sweden.
I believe they are. I mean, this is incredible. We don't follow football at all, and we're finding out all sorts of things about it.
That's the
which is
weird
quite
thing.
Fascinating.
Steve, that's the weird part. You and I are actually getting excited by football.
I know. Do you know, we don't follow football, but yesterday, when England won, I actually stood up and cheered, and I was, hooray, hooray, I was going, all that patriotism came rising to the surface, that patriotism that's always there, because when you grow up in a country, and when one country is pitted against another in what is, you know, this huge match, football match, one country against another, all this patriotism rises in you, and you get carried away with the crowds, and feel sorry for Colombia, but someone's got to lose, unfortunately. And we never normally win when it comes to having to score goals, penalties, because it went to penalties. England, traditionally, we always lose because we're not very good at the penalty shootouts.
Yeah.
But yesterday, we did extremely well. So, well done.
I think
it's
it was
very spooky out here, Mr. Duncan, because it's dark.
I've noticed, and behind you there's a beauty. You can see the sky is lovely and red.
Look at that. As red as the jacket that I've got on, the polo top with no stripes tonight. But yes, and it's a bit. I can hear owls hooting. I've got sort of moths flying across my field of vision. There's things crawling around in the bushes here, and I've got 3 watering cans by the side of me because I haven't finished my watering yet, being late back. But you, Mr. Duncan, while I was away, I instructed you to water all my plants, and you've done very well. You've done a very good job.
Thank you.
Because they're all still alive. I thought I'd come back, viewers, and expect all my plants to be dead and wilted and dried up and shriveled in the sun. And lo and behold, Mr. Duncan's done a fantastic job. So well done, Mr. Duncan, in watering my plants.
Earlier, we were watching you watering the flowers, and also we had a look at the dahlia. And the dahlia looks very, very unwell at the moment. It looks very shriveled. Some of the flowers are sadly wilting.
Well, I've got to cut off the dead and dying flowers. They call it deadheading.
Oh, that's good.
Cut off the dead flowers because that will encourage the plant to produce new flowers so that it will continue to flower all through the summer. And actually, I went by train yesterday to this meeting, but my friend who gave me the dahlia brought me back because it was on his way back home.
Yes.
So he brought me back so I could show him the dahlia that I'd been looking after, and he congratulated me and was very jealous and wants it back. But no, you're not getting it back. It's mine now.
What's funny, Steve, is that he's a big collector of that particular type of flower. And he said, how did you do it? How did you make this flower look so amazing? And how did you manage to produce so many flowers? He was quite impressed.
He was. Do you want to have a look at my watering cans?
Yes, because we were watching you earlier.
Were you?
You're watering your plants.
Didn't know you were watching me and filming me secretly, Mr. Duncan.
I'm always watching you.
He's always watching me, Mr. Duncan. I can't get away with anything. Right, I've got 3 different sizes. Can you believe it or not? I don't know how interesting this will be. But here's number 1. There we go. That one holds 5 litres.
Is it full?
It's full up, Mr. Duncan. It was quite heavy. Then I've got a medium-sized one. That holds, I'm not sure. I can't read it. The writing's too small.
That watering can looks huge.
Ah, well, wait till you see this one, Mr. Duncan.
Whoa.
That one is even bigger. And that holds 10 litres.
Wow.
So, do you want me to go and water something?
You might disappear into the darkness, but let's try.
Let's see. I'll go over here. I don't normally water these plants, but they're shrivelling up a bit, so I'll give them a bit of water. See you in a minute.
Ooh. So Mr. Steve is now going across, disappearing into the darkness as he's watering the plants. This might be one of the...
There we go. That's done that, Mr. Duncan.
That's it.
That'll keep those alive for a few more days.
I like the dramatic way you threw the watering can away.
I always do that.
It's very good. So,
Can I come back inside, Mr. Duncan?
yesterday, actually, it looks very nice, actually, Steve. It looks very, very effective with the sunset behind you.
Haven't you done well,
Yes.
Mr. Duncan?
Now, yesterday, you had to do something which was very, very unpleasant.
You mean go on public transport?
Poor Mr. Steve yesterday. He was suffering so much. Now, it's fair to say that neither you nor me travel. You or I, we don't, do we? We rarely travel by public transport.
No, because I've got a car which I have to use for work, so I use it during my private time, when I'm not at work. And so sometimes, though, we have meetings in the centre of cities like London or Birmingham or Manchester. And if the hotel where we're staying is right in the centre of the town, it's not a good idea to drive sometimes because difficult to park, lots of traffic. So hop on a train, but I don't do it very often. So I did do it this time, and it was 2 hours to get there by train, and I thought, this should be all right. But as soon as I sat on the train, I sat down. It was very busy, and I was sat next to somebody. This was 8 o'clock in the morning, who, let's just say, must have had a good night out the night before, because he was very drunk, muttering to himself, sleeping, and I thought any minute now he's going to vomit all over me. And I'm going to arrive at the work meeting covered in sick.
But
thankfully he didn't. He kept himself quiet, but I had the smell of body odour and alcohol all the way for 2 hours on the train. So when my friend offered to give me a lift back, I accepted, because yes, it's quite strange going on public transport. If you don't go on it for a long time, you don't know what the etiquette is, how you're supposed to behave. Where do you look? Do you look at people, or do I look out of the window, or where do I? It's quite strange. It's years since I went on a train.
I can tell you what happens. It's very similar to the London Underground. Everyone pretends to be doing something. So some people pretend to be reading a book. Some people put their headphones or their earbuds on, and they listen to music, and then that will draw them away from what is happening around them, especially if the train is very busy and packed full of people like yours yesterday.
It was, and it'd be interesting to see, because obviously lots of people on this train do this trip every day. They're probably going to work or on business trips, and they're very used to travelling on public transport. So it'd be interesting to see how people cope. If anybody has any tips on how to cope with the etiquette, or how you're supposed to behave, because, well, I think I was getting some very odd looks. I think people could tell I don't normally travel on public transport. It sounds a bit snobby. I don't mean to sound snobby. It's just that normally where we go, a train isn't suitable, because unless you're near a train station where you're going to visit customers, or we've got work conferences that might not be in the centre of a town, it's not suitable to go on public transport. So I always go in the car, and you feel so much safer. No wonder people like driving in cars and don't want to give them up. I can understand.
Steve, that's the reason why there are so many cars on the road, and that's the reason why everyone hates. They really hate using public transport in the UK. It's the worst thing. It really is.
But I think in other countries like France, Spain, Germany, it's public transport is better organised, and it's cleaner, more punctual. I mean, the stations itself, where I had to change trains, if it was winter, it would have been very cold waiting around for half an hour. But anyway, this is what millions of people do every day, and anyway, I survived, which sounds a bit pathetic, but I didn't come back. My friend gave me a lift. Mr. Duncan, it's getting a little chilly out here. I feel a bit spooky, like something's going to come out of the dark and attack me.
Well, don't forget, at night we get bats flying over.
Oh, God. Yes, they might try and land on my neck and take some blood.
Well,
And I can't see the live chat either, Mr. Duncan. So I feel completely cut off.
Well, it's
from
funny-
everybody watching.
Steve, it's funny you should say that because people are complaining now because they want to say hello to you and they can't because you're outside.
I'm coming inside, Mr. Duncan.
Steve
Will you let
is-
me come inside? Will you unlock? He's locked the doors. I can't even get in. He's told me I've got to stay out here for the whole hour, but I'm telling you now, I'm going to break a window to get in.
That's not true.
No, that isn't true. I won't do that because it'll cost too much to repair it. But will you allow me, Mr. Duncan, to come in from the cold?
I will.
Lovely. I shall see you in 2 minutes.
You can come in, Mr. Steve. There he is. Poor Mr. Steve. So, Mr. Steve is now coming into the studio, so I hope you are looking forward to that. So exciting, isn't it? So Mr. Steve is on his way back in, and then we will see what Mr. Steve has been up to. And, of course, for those who are getting very angry, they're saying, we want to say hello to Mr. Steve. So the live chat is now on. It is on the screen, and finally you will have a chance to say hello to Mr. Steve. Mr. Steve is here. Hello.
Hello.
So now we have the live chat and you can see it. So there we go. Mr. Steve, calm down, Mr. Steve. We didn't watch anything inappropriate when Mr. Duncan showed you in the garden. Yes, we had a look at Mr. Steve watering the plants in his sexy shorts and his sandals.
I could have been doing it naked, Mr. Duncan, for all you know.
Oh dear.
Because nobody can see us, so I could easily have just been wearing very inappropriate clothing or nothing at all.
All I can say is that would definitely make the plants start to wilt.
That's not the only thing that would be wilting in this heat, Mr. Duncan.
Oh,
but we
Mr.
won't go into that.
Mr. Steve, you're being so naughty. Very
Oh, we've got somebody new. Lena or Lina. Oh, no. I think they're talking... I don't know. No, I think Lena's talking about somebody else.
Yes. It might be Sue... Sue Rim. Hello, Sue Rim. Is it your first time here? Because do you always follow these online videos of Mr. Duncan?
Yes, everybody does. Thousands do, Sue. Thousands.
Yes, thousands. Millions.
Millions, in fact.
Billions.
So welcome. And please tell all your friends as well.
Pedro was getting very angry because he wanted to say something to you. He said, yes, you seem like a snob,
Me, a snob.
Mr. Steve, because you didn't like to share the train.
No, that's it. I don't like you. Well, when you're famous like I am, obviously sharing a train with the general public is something that, isn't easy to do. And naturally, of course, I was very annoyed at all the people that kept coming up to me asking for autographs. Because they said, we've seen you on Mr. Duncan's live show. In fact, it brought the whole train to a standstill.
So it just goes to show how famous you are now.
That's it. I mean, how many autographs I signed, I just can't believe. There were foreign people from all over the world visiting the UK, and they instantly recognised me on the train. I was virtually mobbed. Look, a moth has come in now because you've got the window open, Mr. Duncan.
There are lots of insects now flying around us here in the studio.
They've all gone for your lights.
Talking of nature, by the way, Mr. Steve, we had a little visitor in the garden whilst you were away. Do you want to see the little visitor that came to say hello?
Oh,
Isn't that lovely? There it is now on the screen. Now this little goldfinch chick flew into my window and it was a little bit stunned.
goldfinch chick.
It's a not goldfinch, sorry, greenfinch.
Oh,
It's a greenfinch chick. And you can see it's a little bit dazed. Let's have another look. So this is the same bird a little later. And it's sitting on your dahlia.
sitting on my dahlia plant.
It's on Mr. Steve's dahlia.
How dare it sit on there?
But isn't it cute?
Hope it didn't damage the plant. It is very cute.
Yes, but it was a bit stunned. It was shocked because it actually flew into one of our windows. So
Poor little bird.
it wasn't very happy. But a few moments after filming this, the bird flew away, and it was fine.
And hopefully it'll come back.
But I've noticed this quite often with birds when they fly into the glass. They often rest for a while because they seem very stunned. They seem very shocked by the event. I suppose it's a bit like a human being. So if something happens to us, we tend to do the same thing. We sometimes have shock. We go into something called shock. Maybe you can't move, or maybe your body overreacts to a situation, especially if you've been in an accident.
And you bang your head. It's probably that bird probably got something that we would call concussion. Concussion, where you bang your head and you can't think straight for a while. In fact, you sort of... I don't think you go unconscious. I think with concussion, you're just a bit dazed, a bit confused. If you bang your head against something like a piece of glass, or you fall over and hit your head, or a brick falls on your head, that's quite dangerous concussion, because you can get a swelling on the brain. And they now say that even relatively small bangs to the head can lead to all sorts of brain problems when you get older. So, it's not a very good idea to hit your head. And footballers that head the ball...
Even if they just hit the ball with their head.
Yes, apparently it's been shown that can cause, over a period of years, heading the ball into the net can cause damage to the brain.
That certainly explains a lot.
It does, so no wonder they get paid well.
I like the way Steve is still hiding in the corner. You can come a little bit closer in. Yeah,
all right.
You go. We've got all this lovely room now to play with. And Steve's still in the corner like a little shrinking violet.
Well, I just wasn't looking where I was.
There, you can see right there. Right there. There.
There I am, Mr. Duncan. I'm a bit tired, I don't know whether I shall last for the whole hour, because I've been getting late nights. Last night, I've got to admit, Mr. Duncan, I had a few drinks last night at the pub. I did indeed. Somebody mentioned earlier, where's my vodka? The person whose name we can't pronounce.
Yes.
Said, where's my vodka? Last night I was drinking cider and beer.
Ah, I see.
And I had a pint of cider and half a pint of beer. And it was very nice.
Ah, naughty. But you enjoyed the football match?
Oh, so Brazil have gone through, have they?
Oh, I see. That was tonight?
Belarusia says Brazil and Russia have gone through.
Yes.
So could we still have that England-Brazil final that I talked about?
Well, that was what...
Is that possible?
That's what people were saying last night during the match.
I said it first last week. I said it first, Mr. Duncan. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I said there will be an England-Brazil final.
I think you did say it.
I did say it.
Yes.
It's on record. You go back and watch the live stream from a week or so ago. If that happens, that's going to be very difficult, because I said that if England get knocked out, I would then root for Brazil.
Oh.
But now, if it's an England-Brazil final, I'm sorry, but it's got to be England.
So problem...
Sorry, Belarusia. Oh, no, I don't know whether Belarusia is from Brazil.
Oh, I think Belarusia is from, I want to say, Argentina.
Ah.
But, of course, your loyalty will be split.
I know. Because I want to go to Brazil. I've said it many occasions. So, but I couldn't possibly dare not support England. You imagine that if I publicly supported another country. No, sorry, it'll have to be England.
Yes. So we will see what happens this weekend. I think they're playing on Saturday. And another thing to bear in mind...
That's a big moth, Mr. Duncan, that's just come in. Shall I shut the window?
No, it's okay.
To prevent any more from coming in.
There is a huge moth.
That's a very big moth.
In the studio at the moment. Did you see it? It landed on me.
2 ticks. I'll be back in 2 ticks.
Oh, Mr. Steve's going. You can tell that this is live, by the way. We have the windows open, and now lots of insects are coming into the studio to say hi. I think they want to join in with the live stream. Oh, that was good, Steve. You could you pass by the camera awkwardly again? There he goes. Oh, that's classic. Oh, it's so professional here. Thank you, Steve.
Oh, God. There's a big moth in here, by the way.
It's only a moth. What? What do you think it's going?
It's landed on me now. Did you see that?
Yes, it's all right. It's only a moth.
I know it's only a moth, but
What do
we're
you-
live. It's distracting, Mr. Duncan.
Well, yes, it's part of the fun.
I'll just go and examine it with this magnifying glass. Oh, no. Right, yes, well, we had a giant moth and you identified it, didn't you, the other week?
I did. It's funny you should mention that because I had a photograph here of the moth. So whilst the moth flies around the studio, here is the moth that we saw last week in the dining room. It was flying around and it was huge, and there it is, a beautiful specimen.
About 2 foot across, about a metre across, wasn't it, Mr. Duncan?
It wasn't that big, but it was large.
Tried to carry you off.
Yes, it carried me halfway up the hill and then dropped me.
To give some idea of scale there, how big would you say that moth was in centimetres?
That's across, I have no idea, but it's big.
It must have been, it was about 3 centimetres, 3 or 4 centimetres wingspan, would you say, that
Yes,
moth?
I think across it was about 3 or 4 centimetres, yes.
Yes, that's right. So it was a very big moth, and it made a very loud noise when it bumped into the furniture.
Mm.
Ooh, right.
We thought it was going to smash through the window.
Shall we have another look at the live chat, Mr. Duncan? I feel as though I'm neglecting people tonight.
Do you want to see the caterpillar that this particular moth comes from? Because it's very, very interesting. And I haven't given the name yet. So there is the caterpillar. And as you said the other day to me, you said, oh, I think the caterpillar has a horn on its body. And as you can see, it does.
Does anybody know the name of that caterpillar?
Yes.
Or the moth?
So there's the moth.
Have we got any clever people?
Have we got anyone who can use Google?
Oh, right.
Yes, I'm sure people now are Googling.
Well, it would be nice. Well, yes.
So there it is. There is the caterpillar, and there is the moth that comes from the caterpillar. But what is it?
How big's that caterpillar? That's about, I bet that's 5 centimetres long.
They're quite big, actually. I think the actual caterpillar is quite big. Caterpillar. I love caterpillars. They're so lovely. And the birds like them as well.
Have we got any answers to the question?
Let's have a look at the live chat. Mr. Steve can't wait to see what's happening on the live chat.
I can't. I get very excited about the live chat. What is it? I don't like a moth, says Mika. No.
No, I think in Japan they must have lots of moths, with it being very warm and also at night. I think the moths must be flying everywhere.
Miriam's seen your Oxford Dictionary.
Oh,
And she said she's got it as well.
yes. That is my dictionary, and also you can see my thesaurus as well. It's a very big one.
Pedro says he thought Caterpillar was a company. Yes, he's right. They make sort of diggers, don't they? And
They make tractors and excavators and things for digging the ground, things for pushing lots of earth around. So yes, heavy machinery.
I would imagine one of their main competitors is probably JCB.
Yes,
Would you
yes,
say?
yes. They make similar things, don't they?
They do. So yes, but this one is definitely a moth.
Francisco gives a very interesting tip. You need to put some mosquito nets on your window to avoid the moths entering. Yes, I think so. Another particular insect that is very annoying, not so much here, but if you go to Scotland, and you know what I'm going to say, if you go to Scotland during the summer, there are certain areas, if you visit, you have to actually put netting. You have to put a net over your entire body.
Sure,
You have to wear special clothing. I'm not joking.
Really?
I was watching a TV programme a couple of weeks ago, and some people were travelling to Scotland, and they went to this beauty spot. And when they got out of their little van, everyone around them was wearing these strange nets over their head, because apparently the whole area is swarming with mosquitoes.
They do. I've heard this. They have a big problem in Scotland at certain times of the year with midges and mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful place, Scotland. Beautiful to visit. But if you go in the summer, there is a huge problem with midget. I presume is it near sort of water or lakes, or is
Yes.
it just all over?
Yes, I believe it's near the locks.
Oh, we've got so many questions tonight. Mosquito nets at the window. Did you ever see? Nicole says, do we have fireflies? I don't think we have fireflies in the UK.
We don't.
Never seen fire. I would love to see firefly. Or do we?
Well, I've never seen them.
No, we don't get fireflies
No.
in the UK.
No, I don't think we have them here.
Caterpillar moth. No, no one's got the answer to that yet. Lena wants to know about British drama and plays. Well, I'd love to tell you about that, but that's quite a big subject.
That
well,
is-
maybe, yes. Maybe we could do a little 10-minute selection of British drama and plays on Sunday, or
Yes.
at another live stream. We could do that, definitely.
We have actually a very busy program on Sunday because I'm also going to be playing a special video
Yes.
that was made especially for me by a group of people in Turkey. They went on a very special holiday and they dedicated the whole trip to me, which was very, very nice, I must admit. And they made a lovely video. So on Sunday, I will be playing the video. And also Mr. Steve will be here. We can talk about some famous plays or maybe some famous stories.
Maybe I could do another reading. We could bring back Shakespeare on Sunday. Remember,
Yes.
I used to read that and
We-
how popular it was.
We only did it about 4 times and then
I can do
stopped.
it again.
And then we stopped. Yes, you could show some of your acting skills.
You know how I love to show my acting skills.
It's true.
Carlos says, if I come to Brazil, avoid public transport because it's worse than yours.
Yes, I'm not sure about that. Our public transport in the UK is pretty awful. For many, many years, that there has been very little money invested, especially on the roads and also on the rail. So railways and trains, they are in a very poor state, a very poor condition.
Vigani says, hello from Costa Rica.
Oh, very nice. I
Hello.
think there must be lots of fireflies there.
Very exotic. Somebody else said something earlier and it's just gone off the screen, Mr.
Oh,
Duncan.
let me see if I can
I just wanted
rewind.
That would be lovely. Moth everywhere. There we go, you see. Jeff says, Mr. Steve's shirt goes so well with the set.
I know what you're
Thank
doing.
you again, Jeff.
I know what you're
That
doing.
is, however, a repetition of your use of the word set from Sunday. But
Yes.
never mind, you got it in, and that's all that
Yes.
counts.
I think Jeff is being very sneaky. I'm going to keep my eye on Jeff because I think Jeff keeps trying to introduce uses of the word set.
I think it might have been just slightly further up there.
Oh, there's
Mr.
something
Duncan.
else you want to look at.
There was, yes, there was something there. No, maybe it wasn't.
Maybe it's your imagination.
Yes, I've probably read it out. I thought it was something to read out, and I thought there was somebody new, and I thought I'd missed something. I don't like to miss anybody.
No, we have
on
we
the
have
live chat.
we have somebody called Gretel. Hello, Gretel. I love your name, by the way. There's a famous story, of course, Hansel and Gretel.
Dressel, is that Luciano?
I think it is Luciano. Yes.
Oh, right.
Also, we have Carlos here. Hello, Carlos. So, yes, if you come to Brazil, avoid the public transport. Yes,
I've just said that, Mr. Duncan.
I know. I'm just sort of reinforcing the advice.
Well done. Hello, Bella. Yes, I've missed you too. Long time. And it's nice to have you back. And Bella's been watching all the videos, which
that's
of course
good.
we always recommend.
Of course, yes, all of my videos are in the playlists which are underneath this video. So the video you are watching at the moment, there are actually playlists that you can actually watch and look at. You can go through all of the playlists and they are under this video. They are. So there. And for those who want to get in touch, because there are some people, believe it or not, who want to get in touch with me, You can email me. There it is. The address appearing right now, as if by magic on your screens.
Anna was saying, sorry, did you want to say something?
No.
Anna said, I think it was Anna, said, have we got mosquitoes in the garden? I can tell you, yes, I've been bitten.
Oh,
I've been bitten by a mosquito while I was outside doing the watering, because they come out at night and they love me. Mosquitoes love me. They go straight for my veins. Actually, mosquitoes, it's very interesting. Can I tell you an interesting fact about mosquitoes? It was Anna. Some people say they don't get bitten by mosquitoes, and other people say they do get bitten by mosquitoes. But apparently everyone is being bitten by mosquitoes.
ah.
It's just that some people don't come up in the little red marks.
So they don't react.
They don't react to the bites. Other people react to the bites. The mosquitoes are in fact biting everyone, but some people don't notice it because they don't itch and they don't come up in the red marks. Some people react more to the mosquito bites.
Yes, so it's a little bit like a reaction if you had, say, an allergy.
It is a bit like that, Mr. Duncan, I believe. When you come up in a red mark, such as I have, because I've been bitten. But you, for example, might go out there, you might get bitten, but you might not come up in the red mark.
Yes, I'm sure tonight I've been bitten when I was outside earlier setting up the camera. Yes, setting up the camera.
Oh, Mr. Duncan. Oh.
Even I'm doing it.
Even you're doing it now.
I'm doing it now.
And it's a problem in countries where there's mosquito-borne diseases such as malaria or yellow fever, because some people go on holiday from the UK and go to countries where there's malaria or where there are mosquitoes that can transmit all sorts of nasty diseases. And they say, oh, I don't need to take the tablets against malaria, or I don't need to have an injection for yellow fever because I don't get bitten. But they are being bitten. They just don't realise it.
So they're being bitten, but the skin isn't reacting.
Skin isn't reacting, so they could get the nasty disease.
It's a very dangerous way of reacting to something. So you think you're okay,
In fact,
but you still might be being bitten.
And I think if you live in the countries and are born in the countries with lots of mosquitoes, your body becomes used to being bitten by them and you don't realise that you're being bitten. But anyway, that's a completely off-topic subject because we were talking about American independence, weren't we?
Yes, it is American Independence Day today. In the United States, they get very, very excited. But don't forget, it wasn't just people in America that were against the British. Also, the French joined in towards the end. And that's one of the reasons why we ended up withdrawing. But technically speaking, the battle never ended. It never actually ended. It just sort of fizzled out.
I think there was one famous sort of battle that we lost.
We set fire to the White House.
That's right, we did.
we actually, the original White House, the British actually burnt it to the ground. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I think I did know it, but I'd forgotten.
Yes.
And a little interesting fact, Christopher Columbus. So Independence Day was 1776. I've got it written down here and I've forgotten it. Just as well I've got notes.
Just as
That's
well.
how professional I am. Mr. Duncan.
Always have notes. Always have notes.
1776 apparently. But Christopher Columbus, the famous explorer, sailing the globe in his boats, sailing ships.
His boats.
Discovered America in 1492.
That's Christopher Columbus.
It was a paddle boat.
Yes, he was rowing his little boat across the ocean, and then suddenly his boat bumped into something. Bumped.
Well, I mean, he probably wasn't the first person to discover America. They believe that the Chinese discovered it well before we did, but officially...
What's interesting is I don't believe that he was looking for America.
He just bumped into it.
What was actually... No, what he was trying to find was China.
Oh, was he?
He was actually trying to find Indochina.
Right. Okay.
And obviously he went a little bit off course, a little bit off course, and ended up going that way.
Weren't they looking for a short route
He wanted
to
to go.
China for the spice trade or something like that? Probably all to do with trade.
He wanted to go that way, but instead he went that way and ended up hitting the United States.
They didn't have sat-nav in those days.
They didn't have sat-nav. What they had was the sun and the stars and their little compass, which would guide them. But I think in the ocean, of course, if you end up in the middle of the ocean, you have no idea where you are.
Exactly. So after 1492, the Europeans then colonised America. Of course, and then eventually, of course, they wanted to become independent. And but before then, for 15,000 years BC, the natural indigenous populations, the Indians, were there in America. So they were there over 15,000 years before we even discovered it.
And this is the part of
that's
this.
Not a sorry tale, isn't it? What happened to them?
Yes, this is a part of history that is a little dark and something that people don't like to talk about. But then if you look at many countries,
Yes.
certainly powerful countries, they tend to have a little bit of a unpleasant history, including the British. Even the British, we cannot say that we didn't get up to bad things in the past. We did, of course, as some other countries, big countries, did as well. So,
And what used to happen a lot was that European countries, I mean, France, Spain and England, the Dutch as well, were sort of exploring around the world and finding all these countries. But then when they went to these countries, these indigenous populations, when I say indigenous, I mean the populations that originally started there, and they could have been there for thousands of years, suddenly came into contact with people from Europe and caught all their diseases.
yes, this is actually a very good point. Yes, one of the things that we famously gave to other countries were, believe it or not, sexually transmitted diseases.
That's right.
Which didn't exist in North America until we all started going there.
Plague, even like the common cold, which some populations, I don't think the indigenous Indians in America had the common cold or flu, and it wiped out a lot of them. It killed a lot of them out. They believe the Incas died because of the common cold.
The term is Native American.
Native American, yes, got to use the right term.
I'm not sure. Well, indigenous.
Indigenous
doesn't sound very.
Oh, indigenous is all right, I think.
Pleasant. I've never.
It's in Wikipedia, so it must be all right.
Oh well, if it's in Wikipedia, it must be true.
No, I don't think. Anyway, let's not go down that route, because you know what happens, Mr. Duncan. I would say something inappropriate, and you get all upset and embarrassed.
What I love is how you are so fond of this table that's in front of us. You sort of almost. It's almost as if you want to climb on it and sleep on it.
I'm leaning because I'm very tired, Mr. Duncan. I had a late night last night, celebrating with my work colleagues.
Celebrating, getting drunk. He was.
I wasn't drunk.
Watching the football.
I wasn't drunk. I'm not on 1.5 pints of cider. You can't really get drunk.
That's a lot for you, though.
It's a lot for me, yes. It is a lot for me. I could have still driven back and been under the legal limit, I believe, on that amount. Hi from Argentina. Independence is the 9th of July. Right. 4th?
No, in Argentina.
Yes, in Argentina. So what day is it today? It's Wednesday.
Well, it's the 4th today.
The
so
4th.
It's, I want to say Saturday, but that's
Monday.
not right.
Monday.
Next Monday.
Next Monday.
Because we are with you on the 8th.
So do you have the day off? Is it a day is it a public holiday? Are you going to get a day off?
Do you get
What
a
do
day
you
off?
do?
Do you have a day off for your Independence Day in Argentina?
We'd like to know.
Please tell us.
Somebody asked earlier, we don't really have a sort of England celebration day, do we?
Well, we have St George's Day.
That's St George's Day.
So St George is the mythical
patron saint.
The mythical saint who is supposed to have slain the dragon.
That's right, Mr. Duncan.
And that's why when you look at certain coins or certain flags or maybe certain emblems, you might see the George and the dragon, or maybe a dragon on the coin or on the flag. So yes, sometimes you might see that.
Is that Raul from Argentina? And of course Sucat's from Argentina.
Yes.
Well, I don't know whether Sucat is from Argentina, but she's certainly living in Argentina. Is that Raul? Have I pronounced that correctly?
Yes, I think that's quite good. Yes, I think Raul, because last week we got into a real mess last week trying to pronounce
people's names.
People's names, yes.
And the person whose name I can't pronounce, who always asks me if I've got vodka, says that we can join. We can join in. And so Sucat is saying that you do have a long holiday in Argentina.
That's very nice. I wish we had an Independence Day. But the problem is, most of the countries that became independent were becoming independent from us. Isn't that weird?
Yes.
They were kicking us out. They were saying, here, get out. We don't want you limeys here anymore. Limey.
They used to call us limeys, didn't they? Yes.
Do you know why?
Yes, because the problem with travelling long distances at sea is that you get deficient in vitamin C. And is that wrong?
No, that's wrong.
Oh, so I thought they ate limes to get vitamin C.
Yes, we actually used to force people to import lime fruit.
Because we wanted them for the sailors,
yes,
so that they didn't get scurvy.
So we were forcing people to grow and export these things under quite a brutal force, as it were. And that's how we became known as limeys. So if you ever hear a British person described as a limey, it's an insult.
Limes, of course, are full of vitamin C, and sailors used to get a disease called scurvy, which you can still get today, because if you don't get enough vitamin C in your diet, all your teeth fall out and your gums go funny.
I don't want scurvy.
You don't want scurvy, and your skin goes all rough and hard. And if you don't eat enough fruit and vegetables, you get vitamin C deficiency. Anyway, we don't want to talk about that.
I love the way your voice is sort of fading away.
Away? I can turn it back up again, Mr. Duncan.
But that isn't.
At a moment's notice.
But that isn't up. That's just shouting.
That's my normal speaking voice.
But when you were talking, you were sort of talking like this, and then you were sort of slowly disappearing, as if you were going to fall asleep.
I am. You know what? I start to flag towards the end of a live stream.
Flag.
So you need flag. That means I'm just getting tired.
Yes.
And losing energy. Flag.
You are just like.
Spelt the same way, I think, as in a flag, as in the flag that the Americans will be waving today for Independence Day.
Flag.
But flagging.
Talking of flagging, look at Mr. Steve's poor wilting dahlia.
Well, it's not wilting, Mr. Duncan. They are just dead flowers that need cutting off.
Oh, but it doesn't look very well.
They just need cutting off. That's what you do. You cut off the old flowers, deadhead, as it's called. You deadhead your flowers.
Your flowers.
Which means cutting off the dead flowers, and then that encourages new ones to grow from the base.
So you're using that as a verb. So when you deadhead something, you are actually using it as a verb. It means to cut off the dead flowers from a plant. So the new flowers, the new buds will grow.
Will grow, yes, and then you'll get it flowering throughout the entire season because it thinks it's got to keep making new flowers, because that's what plants like to do. So if you keep cutting them off, it thinks, I've got to keep growing new flowers because I'm supposed to turn these flowers are supposed to turn into seed pods because it wants to reproduce. So if you cut the dead flowers off, it can't make seeds, so it just makes new flowers all the time.
Yes. You're kind of really making fun of the plant, really, aren't you? Because they're going to so much effort to grow, and then all you do is slice everything off, and then they have to do it all over again. So that poor plant is just trying to reproduce.
Yes. It's the same with roses.
Imagine if we did that with human beings. If you went round to someone's house and they were about to go upstairs to have a little bit of fun time, and then suddenly you went into the room and threw cold water over them and told them both to leave in separate taxis. That's the same thing. It's the equivalent of what we do to the flowers. We're just saying, look, flowers, we're not going to let you have any fun.
Not sure that's the equivalent.
It's exactly the same. I heard David Attenborough talk about it.
He's wrong.
He did. He mentioned...
Well, he talked about pouring cold ice on copulating couples.
I remember him saying, they always take separate taxis. Separate taxis. I remember him saying that.
What you're talking about, Mr.
It is
Duncan.
that. David Attenborough said that. They always take separate taxis.
Who do?
The lovers who have just been split up because they wanted to have some fun time on the bed, but someone threw water over them and stopped them. And that's what David Attenborough said when he was talking about it. He said, they always take separate taxis.
Make of that what you will.
It's on Wikipedia.
Make of that what you will. I have no idea what you're talking about. But never mind.
Yes,
It's all the fun of the live chat.
It's scientific.
Mr. Steve, will you speak more slowly? It's a while since somebody asked me to speak more slowly.
Yeah. Some people ask you not to speak at all.
We went through a phase when people kept complaining that I
could-
was talking too quickly.
Could you ask Mr. Steve not to talk at all?
But if I talk too slowly, I will fall asleep. And then you will accuse me of looking disinterested.
You're
in
not the
live
only one, but
stream.
you're not the only one falling asleep.
No, Mika, we don't have any water shortage anymore. In fact, the water pressure is the highest it's been.
Yes, we have lots of lovely water at the moment.
So, I'm sorry I can't pronounce your name, but your little symbol is pink at the side. I can't read your name because I can't read whatever that is.
That is Arabic.
Arabic, so I'm very sorry I can't speak Arabic. Would you like to write your name in English, please? And then we can read it out. We'd love to do that. Have we seen the 9th season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, says Sukat.
We used to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm,
We
but
watched that a
but we
lot.
went off it a bit. I didn't like some of the characters that they introduced. I just found them very annoying, and then some of the episodes were just the same every time. They were very similar. So, oh yes, Larry David goes to someone's house and then he does something that he's not supposed to, or says something by accident, and then the other person gets annoyed, and then they all start using swear words, and then he walks out looking very confused and bewildered.
We ought to give it another go.
Yeah.
Nicole, of course, has brought up another big news item in Thailand
Yes.
about those poor children trapped in a cave.
An incredible story. Yes, some young children decided to explore a large cave. Unfortunately, the rain came along and the cave became flooded and they were trapped. And they'd been walking for a very long way, so they were very deep in the cave underground. And
Several kilometres, I believe.
because the water had filled all of the cave, then they couldn't get out. That's it. They were trapped there. So all of these very brave divers, the leaders of the divers, by the way, were British.
Are they?
Yeah. So a British team of divers were there helping out, and they're the ones that made the first contact with the young boys.
Well, apparently yesterday on the news, Mr. Duncan, they said that these children, because of the floods, they may have to stay down there for several weeks or months.
Yes, they think it might be maybe 2 or 3 months, but the reason is because all of these caves are very narrow, so some of the areas are very narrow and very dangerous.
And now full of water.
And now they're full of water. So you imagine trying to swim through water while at the same time having to navigate through all of these small caverns.
And
And
apparently
these-
a lot of the children can't swim.
yes, well, I'm not surprised.
So maybe they could, maybe the divers could take diving suits down to them all and then lead them all out one by one, maybe.
Yes, but it's still not easy to do because
No.
you need breathing apparatus. So all of the apparatus, all of the things that you have to
Yes.
wear, take up a lot of room, a lot of space on your body, and some of the gaps are only about maybe a couple of feet.
And they're
Wide.
just sitting on like this small area of ground.
Yes.
They'll have to take them some bricks and mortar. They'll have to build a little house down there, won't
It's
they?
it's
Or
a
some
little
tents.
They found some high ground. Well, apparently they've taken food and warm clothing and all sorts of things to them, and of course medical equipment has been transported very slowly. But 1,000 people have been taking part in this rescue. So yes, it's incredible. So human endeavour once again, human endeavour. People joining together to help one group of people, and there you go. That's the result.
I still haven't watched. We've got a confession to make to Sukat. We still haven't watched that. What's that car program? Something licious. I still haven't watched it yet.
Petrolicious.
Petrolicious.
I know the name of it.
I'm going to write it down. Petrolicious. I know. I'm going to screw that up into a ball.
Oh.
I'm going to throw it on the floor.
Yeah.
And then when I walk out of the room, I'll think, what is that doing there? And it will instantly remind me of Petrolicious. Because that's what I do now. If I want to remember something, I throw something on the floor and that reminds me. I don't know how it works, but it's quite a good aid memoir, you could say. Something to
what?
help you remember something.
An aid what?
Aid memoir. I think it's French, but it helps you remember something. It's an aid to your memory.
Oh, I see.
But it's I think you say aid memoir,
It's a very posh way of saying reminder.
a reminder.
Yes.
So it's something simple like that sometimes. I mean, you can obviously write it down, but I haven't got time to do that now. Sometimes if I'm sitting watching the television and I want to go upstairs and do something, but I don't want to do it right then and there, I might have remembered, I've got to put a bottle of water in the car, or I've got to phone somebody. I will just throw something on the floor that isn't, so that when I get up to walk out, it's on it. And then when I see that thing on the floor, it suddenly reminds me. I don't know how it works, but it works.
Yes.
Oh yes, I remember. I've got to go and do that.
Yes. I think we understand. So
Aid
yes.
memoir. There's a new name for tonight. Let's see if it comes up on the subtitles.
Yes. Well, it's certainly on the live chat now.
Petrolicious.
Nicole says aid memoir
Oh,
with the all of the punctuation as well.
memoir must be French, of course.
Yes.
Uh,
Well, a memoir is just like a recording of maybe your life or the things you've done.
yes,
So it's very similar to memory, all based on the same root.
I think it literally means aid to your memory.
Yes. So reminder is like remembering something again. So you remember. It is a reminder.
Sukat's stepmother is in London. And somebody else said, I know what I remembered. I wanted to say, somebody who watches us is in some, we'd have to go all the way back now to look. But there's somebody else that watches us who is in England right at this moment.
Hmm.
It was on there and I saw it. And of course, what happens is the live chat it comes thick and fast.
Yes, it's busy because we're so popular.
I wonder if we can go back because somebody,
Well, where?
yes, go a little bit slower, Mr. Duncan. Somebody was watching us.
This is interesting for you, Steve, but not for people watching at home.
And they are visiting us. It's quite a bit further back than that, Mr. Duncan. Who are visiting, and I can't remember where it was. And it just oranges rather than limes. Yes, plenty of vitamin C in there.
Okay, then.
I'm reading other things as we go along.
Nicole's talking about the latest nerve agent poisoning.
Yes, that's the other thing that's happened today. I
Yes.
don't know much about it.
It's been a
because-
busy week.
Keep going, Mr. Duncan. Somebody's visiting us, and they were quite pleased about it.
I hope it's still there, or else.
Maybe we shouldn't go back like this, Mr. Duncan.
Shall we have some music?
Keep going, Mr. Duncan. There we go. Look. No, keep going. No, I don't know who it was now.
I think you imagined it.
No, somebody was visiting us. And I want to know who it was. Because we should always recognise people who watch us and then are visiting at the same time. Because I think that's very important.
This is boring me. I'm getting bored.
Oh, it's gone. I don't know where it is, Mr. Duncan.
We're now actually at the beginning of the...
Somebody is visiting the UK right now, and we want to know who is it, because you said that you were visiting us, and we want to know who it is.
I think you just imagined this.
No, I didn't imagine it. It's definitely there, Mr. Duncan.
I think what happened is a few weeks ago you had a knock on the head.
It's further back than that. I know we're close.
Well, this is the beginning of the lesson.
It's when you hit me over the head.
Well, this is
last week, Mr. Duncan.
Yes,
and,
I think so. I
I'm
think
obviously suffering from some kind of concussion. Somebody's visiting. Oh, we can't find it, Mr. Duncan. Let's give up.
You know, I get the feeling that you may have wasted maybe 2 minutes of the live chat.
Yes, very sorry, but there was something there. No, it's gone. It was further back than that.
Further back?
No, further forward. We've missed it.
Well, it can't be further forward because we've looked at everything that's there.
Let's go back to... Let's see what... No, we don't know what it is. Sorry about that, viewers. Somebody is visiting right now, and let's hope they are watching.
I do apologise for anyone who's just joined this. If you now feel like jumping out of a window, I really wouldn't blame you for it, to be honest.
Just cover it up and move on, Mr. Duncan. That's a professional thing to do.
Pretend that didn't happen, okay? Pretend it didn't happen.
What are we watching now, Mr. Duncan? Is that... Are we back to the beginning or the front end of the
what?
The text? Where are we? Are we?
This is it. This is
good.
the... Okay.
I just wondered whether you wound it all the way back to where we were originally.
That's it.
Good.
That's
the bit I didn't know, Mr. Duncan.
That's why there's a 45-inch screen in front of us to show us those things.
I didn't see you scroll it all the way back down.
Well,
you see, that's what I'm saying.
Paying attention.
Well, how can I pay attention with you talking in my ear? Someone's hearing a sound of a sheep. The person with the pink thing at the side, whose name I can't remember, can't read out, has said can hear the sound of a sheep. I think that's the moth. What are you doing, Mr. Duncan?
I'm putting a bit of Old Spice on my neck to keep the moths and
Old
the moths.
Spice for an old person.
I wish I could get a sentence out. I really do.
Oh dear. Bella wants to visit England, so she heard what I said.
Yes.
But somebody is visiting, and they put a post on tonight, and I want to know who it was.
It's not there. I think you dreamt it.
Somewhere.
Are you sure it isn't a dream that you had last night in bed?
Amori says Brazil will win the World Cup. I think you're probably right. And I won't mind. See, I don't mind if it's England or Brazil. I've got to obviously root for England, but if Brazil win, I should be very pleased as well. But not if they're against England. Only if we're out and then Brazil are playing somebody else and then they win, like Spain, for example. Give us more music and less socks, says Sergio.
Oh, are you sure that wasn't less Mr. Steve?
I hope not.
Oh, I see. If I were to visit England, I would like to visit you, Mr. Duncan and Mr. Steve. You should never meet us. You'll be very disappointed. It's always a big letdown, trust me.
We're much more handsome this way than we are in real life. You'll see all the wrinkles, the flaws. I mean, the amount of time it takes for Mr. Duncan to put his makeup on, you just wouldn't believe before he comes on live.
That's nice. Yes, I was putting Old Spice on my neck.
Sukat's grandfather used to wear that.
Yeah.
My father, indeed, used to have Old Spice.
Yeah, so what's the point you're making?
The point I think Sukat and I are both making is that it's very unusual to see someone of such young years as yourself, Mr. Duncan, wearing something that traditionally is for somebody, I would say, well, I mean, you know, it was being used in the 70s and 1980s. And do you remember that famous advert? There was a man. Was he on a? He was at sea, wasn't he? He was surfboarding.
You're telling me.
Well, don't you remember the advert? It was a man on a surfboard. I'm sure it was. There he was on the. He looked very, very handsome and very manly, and he was surfing. So that's a very manly sport. And then was
he on the internet?
No, he was surfing on the waves.
Was he looking for aftershave?
On the waves.
Was he looking for aftershave?
And all the water was coming over him, and then he was splashing this aftershave all over him, and the women were all after him. But Old Spice has got a very distinctive, powerful smell. What are you doing with it, Mr. Duncan? It's got a very distinctive, powerful smell.
It's very cold.
Unfortunately, when you put it on, it just reminds me of my father.
So I remind you of your late father now.
Well, it's the same bottle. It's been around since the 1970s.
That's why there is something very comforting.
Splash it all over. Wasn't that the phrase? Old Spice, splash it all over.
No.
Sure, that was the phrase.
It wasn't. That was Brute.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh no, Old Spice, the scent of a man.
Yes, it's yes. That's
the
it.
scent of a man. That's what they used to say. So only men could wear that. Real tough men of the world.
Like me.
Well, that was in the 1980s or 70s. Now, if you wear it, it's slightly sad.
Old Spice.
Old Spice. The word old in there,
Yes.
you see, doesn't really convey a youthful image.
Yes, and also you've got Spice.
It doesn't say young Spice.
Spice, like the Spice Girls, because they're very old as well.
What? They could bring out a new version and call it Young Spice.
Yes, or maybe...
What about middle-aged Spice?
Middle-aged Spice.
Or, yes, I'm not that old yet Spice. Young Spice, I think.
Yes, maybe. But
Even Spice sounds old, doesn't it?
The point I'm trying to make here is that this comforts me because I ought to remember my dad used to have this in the bathroom, and I always like to have a little sniff of my dad's Old Spice. I don't know why. Now, out of context, that might sound very rude, but I always like to go into the bathroom and smell my father's Old Spice.
Yeah, they've got Sukat in the late 60s. It's been around for a long time, but there was a famous advert that the man was on a surfboard or something.
Yes, we get it. You've mentioned.
Don't you remember that?
You've mentioned the surfboard about 100 times now. We understand that there is a surfboard involved, and it's the advert for this product. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. If you click away now, stop watching this now, and go and find Old Spice advert from the 1970s, and I think it is. The other one I remember as well.
That's the same moth. That's the same moth that we let out.
You know what
a
I
week
think?
ago.
I think it's the Old Spice. It's attracting. It might be a female moth.
There we go.
Yes, the moth is attracted to my Old Spice.
My goodness, Mr. Duncan.
Yes, it works. So if you're thinking of dating a moth, use Old Spice because the moths will come around you like moths around a flame.
Can you see this moth? Anybody watching there?
I think they can see
Can
it.
you actually see it? It just landed on me and landed on you.
I think they can see it, yes.
It's getting very excited, Mr. Duncan. We're going to have to let it... I think it's the same moth.
What do you mean it's the same moth?
It's the same moth. It's got the same colours on it.
What, you know it? You know its name?
No, it looks exactly the same. It's got those red markings all over its wings.
Oh, I see. You think it's actually...
That's it, Mika. The smell
You think it's this moth.
The smell of Old Spice.
You think it's that moth.
I think it's the same moth.
No, it's not big enough. It's crazy. Whatever it.
It's
whatever
a crazy moth.
It's
Yes.
a crazy moth. We've got a crazy moth in the studio. I've lost complete track of what I'm doing now.
The moth is very distracting.
This is very weird that this giant moth keeps flying around my head.
I'm going to catch it, Mr. Duncan. It's still
Well,
now. I'm
well-
going to get a jam jar and I'm going to catch it.
So here we go. We have a live capture of a huge moth. It's about that big. Did you see it? It's flying around at the moment. In fact, there are moths.
Oh, it's gone already.
There, it's over there somewhere.
I've got a jam jar, you see. I'm going
Yes.
to catch it. Next time
There
it
it is.
lands,
It's down there now.
Mr.
It's behind us.
I'm going to catch it. Oh,
It's all over the place.
I have to wait till it lands. It's over there now.
Yes, it's by the window. It's
By the
actually in the
window.
window. We're there.
No, it's gone again. There's too many lights in here. It's all confused.
Well, yes.
Because moths go towards the moon, don't they? So it thinks there's about 6 moons in here. It doesn't know what earth it's doing.
Moths go to the moon.
Yeah, no, they see the moon and it helps to guide them somewhere. The moon.
Why? Where are they
apparently.
going? Are they going into space? Are these little astronaut moths? Where are they going? They're going to the moon, are they?
They use the moon to navigate. Apparently,
Yeah, but you can only go up.
the moon isn't always Mr. Duncan.
Is this like Christopher Columbus?
Surely, if you've watched David Attenborough, he'd have told you all about the moths and the moon. That's why
both-
they go towards the light, because they're looking for the moon. And then I don't know what they're doing, but they go looking for the moon because presumably they're looking for a moth to mate with, and we're
This
being
is-
dive bombed
This
by
moth,
a mad moth.
This moth is crazy. There it is. It just landed then.
It did, but it doesn't stay for long because the lights are too bright.
I tell you what I'll do. I will catch it and I will feed it to one of the tarantulas.
Mr. Duncan, you can't do that.
Yes, we can feed it to one of the tarantulas
The
because
poor moth.
the spiders are still staying with us, and I think one of them is very hungry. He seems to have lost some weight.
They are looking a bit thin.
They are looking thin. I think they need feeding. But the big question is, what is the name of this moth before we go? We'll be going soon. This moth just flew straight into my head. So this particular moth is called an elephant hawk moth. Elephant hawk moth. So that's the name of it. So there we go.
Oh, I nearly got it then, Mr. Duncan.
This is scintillating. I didn't realise when I started tonight's live. It's down there now.
Where's it gone?
Down there.
Oh, it's down there. It
It's
didn't
landed.
stay still for long enough.
No, it's gone crazy.
It's a crazy moth, Mr. Duncan.
It's a crazy moth.
It's a mad moth, an MM.
All it's it's down there again.
Haven't you heard that?
You have to be quicker than that.
I know, but as soon as I get near it,
When the moth lands, this is how Steve moves.
Yeah, but the thing is, if
It's flying around at 1,000 miles an hour.
you can't move too quickly in Mr. Duncan's studio because there's tripods everywhere, wires everywhere,
Yes, it's a studio.
and I'll have to sue you.
There it is.
Oh, here we go.
I tell you-
Into the jam jar,
Whether-
Mr. Moth.
If I put some Old Spice in the jar,
Duncan, you'll kill it. I'm trying to save its little life. It wants to find a mate. Well, I think it's. Where is it?
oh, I see. Is that why you want to catch it? Are you going to procreate with a moth?
It's done what it did last time. It's run out of energy. and
Can
it's
you
landed somewhere and I
imagine?
can't
Can you
find
imagine
it.
a little Mr. Steve, a moth with Mr. Steve's face? Very scary.
Well, Mr. Duncan,
there
what
it
is
is.
the live chat doing?
It's come back.
Is anybody at all interested in this moth we've
I
got
th-
running rampant in your studio?
I would imagine everyone has gone to bed because this might be the most boring thing that's ever been broadcast
But if
live.
we caught it, imagine the interest.
Well, not really.
What if you study insects? What is the name of somebody who studies insects?
Go on.
I've been trying to think of it all night. I think it begins with an E.
It's an etymologist.
Or is it entomologist?
One is a study of language, and the other is study of insects.
So it's entomology then, is the study of
Insects.
insects. But I wonder if there is a specific phrase. People can probably see my eyes wandering around the room.
No, that happens
For
normally.
somebody who studies moths.
Normally, you just look around the room like you're in a daze, so there's no difference.
I'm always with it, on the button, in the moment.
None of those things are true.
It's gone again, but I've got the jam jar just in case.
Is the live chat still going, or has everyone unplugged their computers and sold them on eBay? Although, how would you do that? How would you sell your computer on eBay? If you had a computer that you wanted to sell on eBay, and then you put it in the box to sell it, how would you then sell it on eBay? Because the computer would be in the box. Yes.
Entomology, yes.
That's it. The study
Right.
of little creepy
The
crawlies.
fight with Mr. Stephen the Moth, says Rosa, yes. It's an epic story.
Trust me,
Moth versus Mr. Steve.
trust me, the moth will win.
The Moth will win. It's a lot stronger than me. Oh, look. Fung says it's 40 degrees in Vietnam.
40 degrees.
40 degrees.
That's hotter than here. There's another moth now. There's a smaller one.
We've got several moths.
Yes, they're
We've
all.
got little moths. We've got big moths. That's what entomologists do. If they want to catch moths,
Yeah.
they put big lights up, don't they?
What
with
do
a
they
net.
do they put on a live stream teaching English? Is that what they do? They go to a lot of trouble, don't they, to catch these moths? They actually set up a studio.
It's on your head, Mr. Duncan. There is another moth over there. That's not the one. We have got to get this moth. What's going to happen is that you're going to forget it's here. You're going to come down in the morning and then it's going to spring out. You're going to open the door and it's going to spring out at you and you're going to jump and scream like a girl.
That's true. I do scream like a girl. It's true.
Oh, has it landed on the back of my head? I can feel something. Oh,
It's not on the back of your
it
head.
might think that my head is the moon
Yes.
and then land on it.
It would just slide off.
Sukat says that she's going to leave you there talking alone.
Yes. Now, how could we do it? We would never leave you talking alone. So
Mia.
Sukat says, well, I will stay with you. I won't leave you talking on your own. That's very kind of you.
Thank you very much. Mia, greetings from Germany.
Nicole says, how long can a moth live? Well, the moth in my studio might live for another 2 or 3 minutes.
Somebody new from Germany, Mia.
Hello, Mia Mia. Mia Mia. Greetings from Germany. Hello to you. I haven't seen your name before. Is it your first time on the live chat? Is it really? What time is it now? It's 1:45. It's 1:45 midnight. We are just 15 minutes away from 12 o'clock.
I don't think a moth lives very long because I think it only lives one. Because what happens is that you've got the eggs, haven't you? Then the caterpillar hatches out, eats all the grass or the leaves, and then it goes into a pupa stage, and then the moth comes out. And I think the moth is probably the shortest phase, I believe. So the moth then has to find a mate, and then it lays eggs and dies. So I don't think the moth lives very long, a few weeks, a month. Well, some of them, some creatures, the mayflies only live for a day, don't they?
They do.
They live for a day.
It's a very short life.
I think the moth phase is quite short.
I'm wishing I was a mayfly at the moment. Because
Really?
when midnight comes, that's it. It's all over.
What is Mia saying? Fear at time. Oh, it's... there we go. Yes, it's 46 minutes. Oh, yes, you're an hour ahead of us in Germany. That's what Mia is saying, I believe.
Oh, I see. So it's, yes, midnight and 46 minutes.
46 minutes.
So
that's it.
it's 15 minutes away from 1 a.m.
So you're an hour ahead of us.
in Germany.
So thank you very much for staying up so late and watching us and finding us.
And Chris Morales, hello Chris, Anthropology is the study of human beings.
Correct.
The most interesting animal, and some might say the stupidest, dumbest animal on the planet. I mean, who sets fire to dry grass
Yes.
when there's thousands and thousands of square kilometres of grass? Who sets fire to it when we're having very dry weather? Someone did. They started a fire. Stupid person. So sometimes human beings
They've arrested somebody, haven't they? We've
They've
got
arrested
fires on the moorlands.
arrested someone. Yes, we have fires because it's so dry and hot.
We are all moths eventually, says Sergio.
Oh dear. Oh, there's a nice way of ending the show.
And Sue Cat says a female moth lives between 3 and 16 days unless it gets eaten by a bat. Mr. Duncan's disappearing. It's early morning in the Philippines. It's 6 a.m. Wow, you've got up early, Chris. So we've got Mia, who's not gone to bed yet in Germany because it's 1:45. And we've got Chris in the Philippines who's got up really early because it's 6 a.m. then. That's an amazing thing about this live stream. We've got people, some people going to bed, some people just getting up. And we're about to go to bed. Well, you are, Mr. Duncan. I might stay up for a bit longer. I was catching insects, says Mika, using a clear cup and a postcard. Yes, Mr. Duncan uses a CD instead of a postcard, don't you, Mr. Duncan?
Are we still on?
Yes, I think we're still on. People are still there. People are still commenting. 23 degrees in Brazil. That's very pleasant. 23 degrees. What a lovely temperature.
That's very nice.
Cool.
23 degrees is quite nice. 33 degrees is very hot.
Eka, are you in Indonesia? It's 6 a.m. in Indonesia as well. It's fantastic. I have a secret method to catch insects, especially flies, says Fernando. What do you do? Open your mouth and they fly in? I'm only joking. What is it? Have you got... do you use fly spray and then they drop down and you can pick them up that way? Can you see the moth, Mr. Duncan? Mr. Duncan has wandered off. I'm sure he's looking for the moth. He's having a cough. That's what he's doing.
I've got my...
Has the moth got stuck in your throat? Is that where it's gone?
I've got a touch of hay fever at the moment.
5:50 in Vietnam. That's because the windows are all open and that moth has been dragging the pollen in. Brazil, look, it's 7:52 in Brazil. Look at all the interesting times. What's happened to the live stream, Mr. Duncan?
The live stream?
There we go.
It's still going.
I meant the live chat.
There it is. It's on the screen now.
18 degrees in San Jose Don Campos. What a lovely name.
So well pronounced.
And it's 7:52 in Brazil.
Wow. All of these
PM.
all of these time checks. It's amazing.
48 degrees in Argentina. That's very hot.
It is. Do you know what they've done this week? Some schools
2 a.m. in Cyprus.
Some schools have announced that they are going to stop girls from wearing skirts. Have you heard this story? About 40 schools
In the UK?
in the UK have said they're going to stop. They're going to ban skirts.
Is that because I bet I can guess why?
Go on, see if you can guess.
Is it the upskirting scandal?
What?
Is it all about upskirting? People taking pictures of girls by horribly putting the camera and taking a picture up a woman's skirt. Is that why?
No.
Okay. Well, you say you let me
But thank you for introducing the subject.
upskirting. Yes, it's a real thing that's going on in the UK at the
Yes.
moment. Well, it's not really.
What do you mean it's going on? I haven't seen anyone trying to take pictures
No.
up someone's skirt.
It's just happening here and there.
Now, the way
very rarely.
the way people are talking is it's as if everyone is doing it, as if literally every man is wandering around with his phone like this.
They're not. They're not.
I'm going to take a picture.
What's happening is that it's happened a few times for a bit of a joke, and now it's been blown out of all proportion.
Yes.
The story's been made bigger than it really is because it looks good on the television, and people and lots of women can get all upset about it and feel empowered. And I'm going to say something inappropriate in a minute. So no one is really taking pictures.
I think
of
well,
women's
it
skirts.
happens, but on a small scale.
Yes, but it's been turned. So
That's
why are they going to ban skirts in 40 schools in the UK?
It's all because of the new thing now that everyone's discussing, and that's gender neutrality.
Oh, for goodness sake.
So, of course, there's men, ladies, and then there's ladies that are men and men that are ladies, and some that don't even know, some that don't even realise yet. So I mean, I understand that it is a problem, so that's not a problem. I don't have no problem with that, for goodness sake. Please don't react and come round and push a pie into my face. Don't do that.
But why are they banning skirts?
Because then it allows the girls to feel comfortable wearing trousers for those who feel that they are really a boy.
So, because there are some transgender
Yeah,
people
carry on. This is your...
who want to feel comfortable,
Yeah,
all the other girls have got to be made to wear trousers
So, yes. So
because of a few people.
that's it. That's it.
Okay.
Some might say that it's a minority that is dictating to the majority, but that happens a lot nowadays.
Well, what about the girls who don't want to wear skirts because they want to be girls and don't want to wear
Yes.
trousers and be like a boy?
What if I wanted to wear a skirt?
Well, you do all the time, every
So-
Saturday night.
So that's it, you see. So I couldn't go to school in my lovely skirt that I spend all night ironing to get all those lovely creases around the edge so I look like a Japanese schoolgirl. It's terrible.
Anyway, we ought not to comment.
Yes, I think it's too late for that. I think we may have already commented on that. Anyway,
Political correctness. This is what we have in the UK, political correctness. And that could well be... So are people agreeing with it or are they disagreeing with it?
well, as
what
usual,
are the general public
well,
saying?
you know what it's like, Steve. This is one of those stories that the media loves to talk about because it gets everyone fighting.
So presumably nothing is really happening, they're just talking about it.
Well, it is happening. Some schools are going to ban skirts, so everyone can wear the same clothes, trousers, basically. But it doesn't address the issue of if a boy wants to be a girl, because then maybe he wants to wear a lovely skirt.
Yes, he might want to. I mean, I would imagine. I mean, if I wanted to become a girl, you know, if I said to you, Mr. Duncan, look, I think I'm really a girl, and I want to have a sex change, which could happen. Well, it won't happen. I think I'd have known about it by now.
I thought you
But,
had.
you know,
I thought he had a
this
sex
is-
change.
This is a real thing. But I would imagine that if I wanted to be a girl, I would want to wear a skirt and not trousers. Anyway, I haven't seen the article, so you shouldn't really comment about something you haven't.
It was on the news.
It's probably going to just disappear.
And of course, we always get the one person who says, it's disgusting. There's always
Fernando disagrees. It's probably about the subject we're talking about. The moth has vanished.
The moth has disappeared. The moth has disappeared. I think it's gone for a sleep, or maybe it's reached the moon.
I'm
it's
sure
one-
they navigate with the moon. It's something
one
like that.
small step for moth.
Mr. Duncan, I'm getting very tired.
Can I just finish what I'm saying? Are you okay? I just want to say something. This is one small step for moth kind. One giant flutter
Finished. Was that it?
for moths.
We don't know where the moth is. It's vanished.
Don't forget, they all leave in separate taxis. David Attenborough told me that.
I still don't know what you're talking about, Mr. Duncan.
You know what it is. The book.
Did you ever play with dolls, Mr. Duncan? Nicole, no, we did not.
I did.
Did you?
I played with dollies because I've got two sisters, and they had dollies. I used to like having little pretend tea parties. I would sit them all around, and I would give them names. There was Jemima, and there was Frederica, and there was also one that always wore trousers. Always had trousers on. And I think her name was Derek.
I didn't have any kind of dolls. I mean, the boys used to have Action Man,
Oh, yes.
the Action Man toy, but my parents never bought me that. I had chemistry sets
An action man.
and plastic craft. I used to like lots of things to do and make
yes, okay then.
practical things. I like presents that gave me things to do. But my parents never bought me an Action
Well-
Man. I think because there was a bit of controversy with Action Man, wasn't there? That it was stereotyping men, and so girls always got the Barbie doll. But no, I never played with dolls.
So,
Surprisingly enough, you would think that it would account for a lot of my
so
behaviour.
what would you prefer the doll for the boy to be then? Like just like a traffic warden or a policeman or
Well, I've got
or
no
an
preference.
office worker. So it's just like a little office worker doll, and you sit him behind a desk and he does a very mundane job, and and at 5 o'clock or 5:30 he stands up and goes home. Is that what you mean?
What were we talking about? Oh, I've completely forgotten.
It's 1 minute away from midnight,
Yes.
and I want to finish.
And I want to go to bed, so
So we're going now. Thank you very much for your lovely company. I don't know what was happening tonight. We had all sorts of insects in the studio flying around, lots of things going on. Carlos doesn't like political correctness.
Gretel says I've got gorgeous legs.
Oh, yes, Mr.
so I
Steve
should,
has.
No, no. I've got
What?
very big calves. I've got very big calves, and that doesn't look good in a skirt
No.
because of all the running that I do. I've got big, thick calves.
So what happens in
So
Scotland?
I don't want to wear a skirt anyway. I don't want to be a woman.
What
Mr.
happens
Duncan.
in Scotland then? If you're a man who wants to be a woman, you could hide it very well.
By wearing
A kilt.
a kilt.
Just wear the kilt, and you could live your whole life, and no one would ever know.
Somebody told me a funny story on Monday.
Oh, well, will it take 25 seconds to tell this?
No, it'll take less than that. They were walking down the high street in the city,
That's 10 seconds.
and it's a hot day. Don't forget, in the UK, and there was a woman with a skirt on. There was a big gust of wind.
Yeah.
And it blew the skirt right up here. Guess what?
You took a picture with your mobile phone.
No, apparently she was wearing no underwear. So she was going down the street in this skirt, big gust of wind, whoosh, reveal all. And all the men were quite interested, I believe.
Yes, that was a very short story. Mr. Steve didn't beat about the bush.
Sleep well, Mr. Duncan, says Fung. Aurora thanks us both for our time. Thank you. I hope you've learnt something about English and you've been entertained at the same time. Thank you, Bella.
We are back on Sunday from 2 p.m. UK time. On Sunday, 2 p.m. UK time, and we'll talk about lots of things. We also have a very special video made by some of my lovely students in Turkey. So we will see you then.
We will do indeed. So it's been great to be with you yet again, Mr. Duncan,
That's good.
and to be great with everybody out there in the world of English. And I shall say goodbye, and I will see you on Sunday.
Yep. Thank you,
Just
Mr.
half an hour. No, you say that. I've got to come up with my own phrase, haven't I?
Please go.
I'm going to come up with my own phrase.
I don't want this live stream to go over 2 hours, and it already has.
Bye. Bye-bye.
As we say in China, ayah.
What was this for? That was reminding me to do something. What was it reminding me to do?
Well,
I was going to do something. Petrolicious. See, it worked.
I feel as if I've done this before, but do you ever find yourself regretting certain decisions that you made in your life? I'm sure I said this a week ago, and here I am saying it again. This is Mr. Duncan in the birthplace of English saying thank you for following me. As you can see, it is now 3 minutes past midnight. Tomorrow has arrived. And of course, you know what's coming next. Until Sunday when we meet again. And between now and then, England, will they win the match? All remains to be seen. And of course, ta-ta for now.